Yay, Jesus is born. Yay. Run, Herod's going to kill us all. Oh, nobody clapped for that? Why? What? But that's what we just read. Yay, Jesus is born, and now Holocaust. That's exactly what we just read. Herod wants to go out and he wants to kill everybody. Well, not everybody. He wants to kill all of the children who are 2 years and younger, which gives you kind of a little better time perspective about when maybe those wise men actually showed up. Right? We always have this idea that they showed up with the shepherds on the night that Jesus was born, but it probably didn't happen exactly on that night. And so when Herod heard about this guy who was going to come and be the king, right? When they called Jesus the Christ, that's Greek for Messiah, which is Hebrew for king, the anointed, Herod heard that there was somebody who was going to come and overthrow him and all the power that he had acquired, and he was going to do everything in his power to stop that revolution, to stop this Jesus guy from taking his kingdom, which meant using all of the ability he had to thwart God's plans. And the power that he had was to command an army to kill hundreds and thousands of children. Merry Christmas. Herod was afraid. See, Herod had this whole world all set up. He had everything just the way he liked it. He was king. He was going to tell him what to do. Nobody's going to tell him what to do. He's going to tell everybody else how it's going to go. And he had it all worked out. And now here comes God to threaten the way that he wants to live his life. Well, he's going to tell God what to do. He's going to put up a pretty good fight, too. And so he's going to go out in the world, he's going to kill all kinds of people in order to make sure that his reality, the one that he wants, the one that he wants to follow, not God's, he doesn't care about God's reality, that's the one, his reality, that's the one that is followed. And I think that it's a beautiful message for today. We don't want to hear about it, but that's why God came in the world, because we constantly decide to tell God how it's going to be. We rage against God, and we don't want to listen to Him. We put up all kinds of fences, and we close our ears, and we close our eyes, and we put on all kinds of different rationales, and we lie to ourselves in all kinds of different ways so that we don't have to and we don't want to listen to God. And what Herod did reflects the world that we inhabit today, the one in our head. And so I want to lay down exactly who this Jesus cat is, because I think we forget. When Jesus came, He came for one reason: death. Not a good Christmas sermon, is it? But that's why He came. Think about the gifts the wise men gave to Him. Gold, okay, good, gold. Frankincense, all right, smelly stuff to do with religious rites. And myrrh. What is myrrh? Okay, well, myrrh, let's break it down. Myrrh is it's the sap of a tree that grows mainly in Ethiopia. It's a nice, smelly sap. And what you do with this sap is you take it and you mix it with nard. Nard, what's nard? Think Crisco. There you go. It's fat. It's this fatty, oily kind of thing, right? So you mix this smelly stuff with this other smelly stuff, and you get myrrh. Well, what is myrrh? Great. So you've got all this smelly Crisco. What good is it? So in John, the gospel thereof, Nicodemus, at Jesus' death, comes to Jesus with 100 pounds of this stuff. And it's the stuff that he uses, and all the Hebrews used at that time, to cover up their dead. It's what you put on a dead person when you bury them, like a shroud. We've got a few in our congregation who are with child, and they're about to pop. Could you imagine if I showed up at the hospital room when they have their baby, like, oh, we got a newborn baby. It's like, hey, great, I've got the tombstone. Well, that's what these wise men did. They came to visit Jesus. They gave him gold. They gave it, which is, money. They gave him frankincense, which means he's holy and pure, and they gave him myrrh, which means he's going to die. Nice gifts. So right off the bat, all we're hearing is Jesus has something to do with death, and then we hear Herod and the Holocaust that he brings, and it reminds us of the 10 plagues. How when Pharaoh wanted to control God and God's people, he decided that there would be all of this death. So here it is. Jesus has entered into this world, and here we go. Even more death, a Holocaust. And of course, Jesus is going to grow up and be a man. And the Roman Empire is going to put Jesus on their symbol of worldly control. They're going to put him on a cross. The cross wasn't something that was just done in the corner where nobody looked at. They would line roads with crosses and people who were put upon them so that all of the empire would know, you mess with Rome, guess what you get? You get slow and a painful death, which is what Jesus got, a slow and a painful death. So from the very beginning, Jesus' entire life is revolving around this death motif. Because that is all the world has. The biggest, most powerful thing that you and I can do is deprive somebody of life. That is our card. That's the one card that we can play. And the world plays it. And if God gets in your world, you're going to show him, aha, I have death. I have death. I can wield death. And Herod is no different. Rome is no different. The world is no different. We all do this. We play this card. That's why God came into the world, to show us that we can play all of our cards, that we can scream, and we can rage, and we can do what we want, and God doesn't care. Go ahead and do it. What, you think death is just some thing that God can't overcome? Oh, here, go ahead. God came into the world. We tried to kill him. He came back. Because death is not the end for him. But it is the means. It is the beginning. It is why he came. So that every last little bit of our life might be overwhelmed with him, up to and including death. You don't think God's in every little bit of your life? Think again. You know those things that you say at the other cars while you're driving around? God hears that. Oh yeah. Yeah, the intent that you put into your taxes, God sees that. It's hard. It was hard for me. I had to switch accountants because my accountant kept trying to tell her, no, I want to pay taxes. No, what are you doing? You don't want to pay. No, I really do. No, I don't want to play games. God sees those. You know when you go the extra mile for somebody and you do the little things, God sees that too. I looked on the internet for what I think is quite possibly the most beautiful picture of selfless love aside from Jesus on the cross. I looked on the internet for this picture, and they didn't have it, so I'm going to have to describe it to you. So you have to envision, our world, our modern world today, a roll of toilet paper on the roll before it was used, so it's still sealed. That is quite possibly the most beautiful thing in the world. Think about it for half a second. Whoever put that roll of toilet paper on that roll didn't use it, so they put it on there for someone else. That's such a beautiful thing, you guys. That thing is so beautiful. You sit down, you're all ready to go, and there it is just waiting for you. That little love. Jesus sees that too. He sees the dedication that you go and you put into your life. We got teachers. We have all kinds of Sunday school teachers. You spend all kinds of effort. You are never going to be thanked in the way that you should probably and properly be thanked. Because you're going to raise up these little kids and they're going to know God is in their life and they're going to go out in the world and they're not even going to remember you maybe, but they're going to know the impact that you made on their life. God sees that dedication. He sees that faithfulness. When you fail and you've messed up and you have to go and you have to kill your ego, and you have to say, I'm sorry, and you have to be the good Christian, God sees that too. All of the things in our life, every last little thing, God sees. The problem is we don't see God everywhere. What we do see is the world that we live in, and we are so susceptible to our world, to our life. Y'all, we are just so blessed. You understand how blessed we are? It is New Year's Day. We are hanging out. What's the biggest problem going on for most of us today? A hangover. Didn't get enough sleep. Nobody's starving. We don't have to worry about shells and bombs coming into our world. We don't have to worry about all kinds of horrible activities. When you drive on 17 or 220 and you're going home and you're on Blanding, you don't have to wonder, is there going to be an improvised explosive device on the side of the road? The biggest, hardest thing about our world is how beautiful and awesome it is. And then what happens is we get lost in that beauty and that awesomeness. We forget that it's a blessing. We take it for granted, and then we tell God to forget it. I don't need you. I'm full. I don't need you. I'm satisfied. I don't need you, God. I'm healthy. I'm happy. I'm fulfilled. At some level, if we were starving, we'd be praying to God nonstop. God, I need food. God, I need food. God, I need food. And instead, we complain that we have to eat quinoa and lots of roughage and whole grain things. Shouldn't we be thanking God that our plate is full of green instead of complaining that we don't get to eat the things that ate the green? I'd much rather have my bacon wrapped in bacon. Wouldn't you? Bacon wrapped bacon sounds good. I see the Clarks are here. I know you like bacon wrapped bacon. I got pictures. We're susceptible to this world we live in, and it morphs us, it changes us, and our world specifically changes us because it's so easy to kill God and tell him he's not needed. We don't need you, Jesus. I have a nice job. I have a very plump 401k. I have health care. There is no need for you. I am taken care of. Well, go live without one of those things. Go live without a job or health care. Think about what it would be like if you didn't have your retirement. Think about what it might be like if you had to worry about a sniper shooting you as you went out to get your mail. This is a different world, and it's easy for us to kill Jesus, and this is why Jesus came into the world. To show us, obviously, that he loves us. To show us that he would come into the world, that he would take on the human form, that he would know who we were, that he would go onto the cross, he would die for us, that he would be resurrected so that we could see that he actually loves us and that he has the power to do something about it. But he came in the world to show us that we will be forgiven because we're the ones who put him on the cross. Because we're the ones who say we don't need you. Because we're the ones who say we don't need to share our love. And it's so easy to think that God came as a human being, and so that means that we understand him, and that means that he's just going to do as we want. That whatever our wishes are, that's exactly what he wants us and for us, and of course it's going to be that way. And Jesus said, no, it's not going to be that way. In fact, the reason he became a human wasn't so that we would know him. It wasn't so that we would have a better understanding of who he was. It was the other way around. It's so that he would actually know us better. That he would know what it is to be a human better. And that by being a human, he might be able to serve us better, which is just kind of wild. This is Hebrews 2. I want to read for you here. Hebrews 2:14. Since therefore the children, that's all of us, share flesh and blood, he himself, that is Jesus, likewise shared the same thing. He became a human. So that through death he might destroy the one who has the power over death, that is the devil. Don't kid yourself now. Right, we like to kid ourselves that maybe we live in such a beautiful and perfect world that we're not being tempted by the devil, that he's not in our world. No. The Bible's very clear. That's why Jesus came. And to free all of those, that's us, who live as slaves in the fear of death. Anybody who's not going to die, raise your hand. Hey, all right, Jordan. Well, with the exception of Jordan, who will be whole bodily assumed into heaven, apparently, we live in the fear of death, which is the fear of judgment, that we will go and we will meet our Lord. That's what that means. Verse 16, for it is clear that Jesus did not come to help angels, but the descendants of Abraham. Now that's us. We're the descendants of Abraham through our baptism. Therefore, he had to become like his brothers and sisters, that's you and I, in every respect, so that he might be a merciful and a faithful high priest in the service of God. It's a really interesting thought that he came to serve us, to serve God, to make a sacrifice of atonement for the sins of the people. And we know this much. That's why he died, to take our sins. But here it is. This is what I want to get at. This is verse 18. Because he himself was tested by what he suffered. He is able to help those who are being tested. I love that. I want to read that again. Because he himself was tested by what he suffered. He was able to help those who are being tested. See, Jesus didn't come into the world to remove suffering. He didn't come into the world so we could all be millionaires. He didn't come to the world so that all improvised explosive devices would be removed from this world. He came in the world so that those who are suffering, that's all of us, at some point in time, so that we might know that He suffered too. That in the midst of the suffering, and the muck and the mire and all the horrible things, all the glorious things, all the blessings heaped atop of blessings, and whenever we're in the drought and we don't know where our blessings were, in all of those places, God would be here. And He experienced them. And because He experienced them, He now has a better compassion for us somehow. Because He was human, He knows what it's like to be human. Which doesn't mean that we can tell Him what to do. It means that He knows how best to help us. So when we look, and we look to Him, to do His will in the world, we know that it's the best way because He's been in our shoes. It's not just some philosophical thing on high. He knows what's best for us. And He shows us what's best. He says, look here, be perfect. Now you're all thinking, I can't be perfect. That's right. He says you can't be. You could be, but you can't. He knows that. So He says, try. And when you fail, and when you're tested, and when you're suffering, I'm there too, He says. And He encourages us to try, so that He might be able to bless us. And so when you're driving on 220 and you don't have to worry about improvised explosive devices, I want you to remember what our message says on there. And I want you to bring it with you for the rest of the year. Your New Year's resolution, whatever it is, do it with God.